Let's prepare for these target roles: lead business system analyst, senior business analyst, risk technology analyst. So you just completed your credit risk application for a BSA project. So let's prepare a mock interview, how you can prepare for this role using your BSA project. So you completed credit risk application. Okay, so domain mortgage credit risk, and you can capture you worked on agile and STLC, this methodology. Okay, so I'll bypass the typical questions. Okay, so we'll get into the project related question. But if you want to answer, you can answer it. I'll just quickly read the questions. Okay, the first question, tell me about yourself. So you can prepare particularly this project related question. So you can talk about the architecture, data mapping, what are the technical things you implemented, and how end-to-end flow work, what did you do. So you gather BA artifacts. So how do you support this project? So next question, they're going to ask, describe about your banking project. So you can talk about your credit risk application. So next question, what are the source systems for your credit risk application, right? So source system is nothing but where you get the data to final report, to prepare the final report. Okay, so you can talk about that one. Next one, if they ask a question, explain me the architecture. I don't believe so, but sometime they can ask, can you give us a walk through the end-to-end? So you can talk about your design. So you have core banking where customers submit application. So here you get the data from a different system. Your asset, the collateral system, where the customer properties are registered, and customer details, and loan details you consolidate in one area like a warehouse, and after that you build the risk database, and you have business rules more than 90 days. You flag as high risk, and finally you have the dashboard. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. If you are not understand this application, you can just quickly recap. There are different section of this project. You can watch the consolidated version, or you can just go and watch this particular design section or design walkthrough. Okay, so next question you need to prepare, how did you get the requirement for this one? Okay, so you can, they're expecting how do you address the pain point. So what method you use, survey, interviews, workshops, big group planning. So you can share your experience. Okay, so how did you work with developers? So you work with developers technically. If there is any requirement clarification, if there is an ambiguity on the requirements, how did you clarify? Okay, that's the answer they're expecting. Next question, give me an example of a requirement clarification, right? So when someone asks what happened, so you can give a scenario here, right? So developer asks what qualify as a high risk mortgage. So they're asking clarification for the business rule. Okay, so you can just say if loans are open, active, right? Closed loans are not related, and if that's a past due, then if greater than 9, so you have to talk all the conditions, right? Open loan, past due, and greater than 90 days. Okay, so you can how did you handle the data quality issues? So what does it mean? So risk reporting accurate information, right? So remember, we have some data is missing, like we have the past due amount, we don't know the customer detail, right? So those kind of information, how did you handle? Okay, so we use for we can talk about the duplicate mortgage also, but you can pick up whatever the use case you want to talk about. Okay, so you can one potential question, so what SQL skills do you have? So this is just a generic question. So if you want to provide a rating, you can provide a rating. For this particular project, I have created a separate video for a SQL. So you can quickly watch and technically, you need to combine the data in order to see, right? You have mortgage data, your customer data table. So we created two tables. So we joined two table from the loan table and the customer detail table, and we are writing basic queries. Okay, tell me the mortgage, past due mortgage, tell me mortgage past due about 90 days or something like that, right? So first table, and then we use a where condition, and we use a join condition to filter out the data. Okay, so if you understand that basic, you can answer this question. Okay, so next one, why should we hire you? Okay, this is a typical question. Sorry. So you just need to go through the before you go to the interview, just go through the job description and just say whatever the requirement says on the job description, and include some example with your project experience. Okay, so you are saying they need someone have experience in risk reporting, building dashboard, and if there is a requirement, so you completed the similar exercise of the project. So you can say I have a strong understanding and I have experience in creating dashboard for risk analysis or something like that, right? So you can just say I believe I'm a good candidate for this position. Okay, something like that. Okay, all right. So okay, so I'll go to the next scenario questions. Um, so these are typical questions. Okay, so they will ask, okay, a business stakeholder disagree with your requirement, what you do? Oh, multiple stakeholders you have, and both of them are saying. So let's say we have customer service manager, we have back office manager. So they're telling their opinion, their perspective. So how do you handle this conflict? Okay, so just prioritize what is needed for the user. Based on that you can prioritize, but you can listen rather than you saying a solution, and document it and visualize it and just show to the stakeholder, get a common alignment before you move forward. Okay, so I bypass the answer. So what I'm not giving you the exact answer, so you can open a chat, or you can put it in the chat what is your expected answer, so that everyone can participate answering these questions. Okay. Second question, a developer says your requirement is unclear. How do you respond to this one, right? So this day to day this is happening. Not only the junior business analyst, even for experienced business analyst also, this is the ongoing problem. So how do you handle this one? So just hop on a call and ask where do you need clarification, and see if that system is not able to do this one. Take it back to the business and explain to them system capability, and get a positive answer. But before you go to business, get the options from the developer, right? Let's say this business rule cannot be implemented, right? Like for some reason A to B, and what are the options? Take to the business and get instead of you say the problem, just give the option. Because of this issue, we are not able to implement the actual discussed solution. So these are the best options. Just let me know what we need to implement or something. Okay, so come back to the developer and give the right requirement. Okay. Next question, a production issue impact regulatory reporting. What was your approach, right? So if you have not worked in production, right? So it's similar to a think like you what will happen if you get a feedback during your review, right? So after you build it, you show to the stakeholder. So they're saying, hey, can you enhance it? Oh, this is not what we intended to do, something like that. How do you handle, right? It's the same thing. This is more critical because actual customers seen the product, which is not good. But if this happens, so this might happen, but if thorough testing happen, or you wrote the requirement correctly, so this will not happen. But if this happen, how do you handle it? Okay, so first you can go through the steps, like first triage the bug and see if the what user is trying to do, what the customer is trying to do. Sometimes it may not a bug, maybe that's a user issue or accessibility, or like a customer issue. So let's see if customer is doing everything right. So you need to reproduce it and see what is the issue. If this is really impacting the business, so you can find out the issue and write an emergency patch and solve the issue, right? So it's based on the what issue. So how do you handle it? Just to answer, first you need to triage means just go through the steps, try to reproduce what customer is doing. That's important, and see if it is actual bug. Most cases that's not an actual bug. Some technology capability customer is doing from a different browser, or customer is something, if they restarted, clear the history, or like something like that. If they practice it, do it in the right way, it will happen. If one customer is only complaining, so that's not a problem, so you can take a look. If multiple customers are complaining, yeah, that's a serious critical issue, so you need to fix it. So for the first step, just to answer to this one, you need to reproduce it. Okay, so how did you prioritize competing requirements, right? So how do you do, right? So it's based on the priority. Okay, how do you handle scope creep, right? So again, these two questions are completed. So when you get requirements, so we know which feature should go to which build. So based on the build only, we'll start developing. And if you get something, it's urgent because you already start working, so you cannot do multiple tasks. I'm talking about developers and testers, right? So if they have something on their plate, but something business stakeholder want to do, so you have to bring to the table and just assess it, which is important, which one has a priority, right? Like, okay, they are building a feature, they already started to work in the middle of the sprint. Someone is stakeholder saying, can you take this one, right? So you have to go back to the table and just discuss it, which one is important, right? If it is critical, like the previous issue we were talking about, production issue, right? So yeah, of course you have to give it away whatever you are working on. As soon as possible you need to address the production issue. So it's all about planning. Okay, how do you ensure requirements are completed? So every time once it's completed, you have to if you can get an alignment or like a business sign off, that would be great. Or like a common practice, create a Confluence page and just write who gave approval and business rule approval, so that way you can log the requirements. Okay, so tell me about the time you found a hidden business problem, right? So these are business as idea, but when they speak, they give a vague requirement. So you have to break it into small, that vague idea into all functional requirement, right? So you have to list it. You have to, when you write it, you have to show to them, right? So not only speaking. So when they say something, we need something, so you have to list it one by one, and possible create a process map. And from the process map you create a diagram, so they can visualize this, they can see what capabilities are possible, so you can solve this problem. Okay, so how do you work with architects when you don't understand a technical concept, right? So the best answer, you focus on, so you have business answer, business requirement. From business requirement you create a process flow or process diagram, and you have the functional requirement, right? So you focus on the functionality. Okay, the implementation technical thing, the solution architect can take care. So you can fit your diagram. For example, so you see when discussing Microsoft architecture, if you don't know what's this doing, right? So you can ask question, what is the business capability, right? So you have a functionality. This is how you break down. You have business requirement here, and from the for the short, your business requirement. So from the business requirement, you have functional requirement, right? So what they are talking about, how to implement, right? So bring the data, right? So they're talking about we have multiple APIs, multiple service clients. If you don't understand, so where you can ask where this connected to this business capability or functionality, something like that, so you can get better understanding. Usually they show you a diagram, so you need to ask like who which API carries which data, and what is the request, what's the response, where this data is been saved, which database. Three questions, right? So what information we provide input in the request, and what API will return response, and what is the database. So easy to understand this one. Okay. What is the biggest challenge in banking technology project? So this is just a generic question. Okay, so now let's go to the next interview set questions. Okay, so they can ask, walk me through the end-to-end data flow of your application. So same question they're asking in a different way. So you can talk about the customer submitting mortgage application. Let's go to core banking. From the core banking collateral system, so different system. How do you consolidate data? Like how do you bring to one spot, like a warehouse, right? So all you integrate in one layer and apply the business rule and store it in the risk database, and you send it to the dashboard. Okay, so you have to practice and again. They may ask the question in a different way. Okay, walk me through the design application or architecture design, or this the entire application. Okay, same. Okay, what we discuss. Why didn't use the core banking database directly for reporting? That's a good question, right? So why we have, since we have all the data, why we have to use, right? So sorry. So here I'll read out this answer because this is important. The core banking system designed for transaction processing, right? So we cannot mix all that one. Priority is customer transaction, payment, and account servicing. So this is operational database. So this is not for the regulatory thing. So that's why we are not using this one. Okay, the credit risk reporting platform designed for analytics and risk calculation and regulatory reporting, right? And also we need multiple data. We need customer data, right? So here we have only transaction data. We need customer demographics data also. So that's why we have to build a separate database for reporting purpose. Explain how would you analyze data mapping requirement. Okay, so remember we have source system and the target system, right? So you have to identify the source system. What is the field? What is the field target field name for the source system and the target system? Okay, so after that, because data is going to be same but the label is different. Okay, but sometimes the data type is different. So maybe you get text data here, a string, and you need to convert it to integer or double or like a digits or something like that. Okay, so data mapping is nothing but think you have a bottle here, bottle A, and that's a source system. You have bottle B, that's a target system. So if you want to transfer something from bottle A to bottle B, you need to transform the data, right? Transforming, you're changing the shape or changing the, but the data quality, the actual thing is doesn't change. It's only the changing the shape to fit into the target system. Okay, so that's what the high level data mapping is. So next question, a business user says risk report is incorrect. How did you investigate? Again, anything is you get a production bug, it's incorrect. So how do you investigate? So you need to reproduce it, right? Triage. That's come the triage skill. So get the question or your ticket, reproduce it. Just ask, can you write down the steps, what you are doing, what you are seeing, right? So you go through the steps and you try to test it and see if you are getting the same thing or it's a user issue. Okay, that can be multiple issues. Okay, so that's not your problem. So your job as BA, you just need to track it and reproduce it, see where is the issue, talk to a technical person, developer or something, and identify the issue. Just communicate with the user, whoever giving this, the raise this ticket. Just give a timeline of, when do you need to fix. Okay. All right. So again, the SQL question coming back. Okay. So I talk about, okay, so to table, you need to know how to apply a filter condition, where condition, how to join a table. That's very simple. Okay, so select query, where condition, filtering, and join condition. That's it. Okay. So API integration. API is nothing but it's a data carrier, right? There is a request, what data field you need, what's the response structure, right? So what data we are returning. That if you understand those two, and you can answer. Okay, how do you document API requirements? Okay, so you can go through the detail. I have separate videos for API. So API, you have to know what is the method of this one and what is the database, and request and response is very important. Okay, and URL, and how to error handling. If the right input is not given, what to return to the service client. Service client is nothing but who is calling. What is your understanding of microservice? Okay, so microservice is nothing but a small component, isolated component to handling different services, right? So think about Walmart analogy I always take. We have different section for different items, like we have dairy different section, electronic we have different section. So similar in application, we have different business operations. We isolated these services, the business operation, using small services, right? So we have risk rating, we have risk reporting service for the dashboard. So we can create one microservice, and we can have a different microservice for mortgage data handling or something like that, right? So small service. So what's the benefit of this one? So if you have a single application like mono, it's if you need to maintain something, so you have to shut down the entire application. The benefit of having a microservice, we can just only work on or enhance the particular service is down or something need to fix in that area. Okay. A developer says the calculation rule is unclear, what you do. So this is also same, developer is not agreeing something. So this you need to clarify what's missing for the business rule here. So you need to understand if you capture incorrectly, or you documented incorrectly, or if this is something issue with the business requirement. So you need to take it back, or what's happening. First understand why this can be implemented. Okay, so developer will say A, B, C, D, and get the option from the developer and take it back to the business and just provide the option and just give the required detail to the developer. Okay. How do you support QA? And you can verify their especially they are focusing on the acceptance criteria. You can just clarify the acceptance criteria. If you can provide the test cases, or read their test cases and see what is the input, what's the action they have to do, what's data they need to give, what's the expected result, right? So you can help them to understand those ones. How do you use Jira in your project, right? So you use Jira for writing user stories. Okay, how do you use AI tools for BSA? Okay, so this one now everyone is asking. It's based on your organization where you work. So whatever AI tools, like I don't know what AI tools is capable in your company, use it. Like we cannot replace manual work with AI, right? So like if you don't understand a specific concept, you can ask some explanation. You can ask to create some flowchart diagram. You can ask to create process flows. But before you submit, before you show to the actual audience, you just need to verify. So yeah, so it's just think like a calculator, right? So you can calculate manually, you can use actual Excel or something to do your mathematical operation, right? So AI tool also like a tool to aid your help to improve your performance on a day-to-day activity. So you can use it whatever activities you needed, if that permitted in your company. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go to the next questions. So next questions we have here. Tell me about a time you had a conflict with the stakeholders. So we talk about this one. How do you influence people when you do not directly have authority, right? So how do you influence people when you do not have directly authority? So um, so BSA often work different people, right? Not on BSA every. So communication, presentation, and building trust, right? So you just need to understand what they need. It's not mean what you need. You might know more than them, but you don't need to tell everything to them. So you just need to speak to you need to pivot based on the audience you are addressing, right? So if you have technical knowledge, if you are talking to a business user, you just need to talk in their language and try to see how you can help, how you can address their needed. Okay, that way you can gain trust with them. How do you manage multiple priorities, right? So you just need to documentation, right? So you have to have multiple Confluence pages. Whenever you start talking, take notes and update so always focus on what's the business problem and what is the system capability can do. Those are the two questions. Always try to who does what, right? So business question, document here. Business questions, business requirement. Whenever you get time, create the process flow and convert it into functionality what system needed. So even the project hasn't started, if you had a small talk with the business, high level understanding, list down and try to get the functional requirements. So you don't need to create user stories, right? So just wait for the more detail and design and everything. You just start documenting, right? So you're done. And if you go to another project, just create a similar Confluence page. So if when you have multiple Confluence page for different projects, then it will be easy to manage multiple priorities. Okay. So tell me about time you handle the pressure. Yeah, so agile projects always come with a tight deadline, so your head will spin when you heard the timeline. We need within one sprint, we need within two sprint, right? So so you don't get much time to work, gather the requirements. So you might heard, okay, we need the user story tomorrow. This is the Confluence page design document. Go through this one and let me know if you have questions. So you will come to this kind of scenario, but don't worry, like read it. So your job is just read it and try to put it in a process flow and convert it in a diagram and talk to whoever author or whoever wrote that document. If it is technical folk, there is a design diagram. Try to understand the data flow diagram, see, and if you can convert those into functional requirement, right? So talk to your tech lead, ask the design document, see what APIs need to implement, and detail, right? So there's no pressure, but if you manage it well, because you have to know what you are doing, so you follow the checklist everywhere. Whatever project you are going to work, you are going to create user stories, right? So your first job is understand the requirement. So that's where you need to start and see what system need, what functionality system need, and break it down to epic and stories, and double check with your tech lead or as a solution architect. See, these are the features are we going to build. If yes, can I proceed with this user story? Yes, then you can start. So, okay, so there is no time pressure. You just, because you can only do one task, right? So you need to ask which one is important. How do you communicate technical information to a business stakeholder, right? So this is the one thing even I need to practice. we need to break, even you work for backend or APIs, business user don't understand what is backend and API, right? So some business users understand, but overall when you're speaking, so you need to talk the customer journey, right? Like even you are building API, that's something connected in the front end, something connected with what actually customer is doing, right? So try to draw a diagram. So drawing a diagram, you can bring liveness, like what customer is doing, like customer is clicking this button. So when they click this button, this API go to this database and bring this information and giving customer account balance. For example, customer checking the account balance when they click the view account balance, and there is API, it's get the detail from database. And so you always try to avoid technical keywords when you're talking to business stakeholders. Just talk about the customer journey, so they understand, okay, what data is provided input, right? So what they have to give the account number, and asking the balance. Okay, so that's one example. Tell me about time you improved process. Okay, so this so you cannot just take the requirement and write it as it is. So you see where you can improve. Always think, put customer first. That I would say. Think like you are a user, you are the one actually using. So if that makes sense to you, right? So you are not blindfoldly like taking orders, right? Taking requirements and just writing, and developers are building. See where you can give suggestions, where how you can improve. Think like you are consuming that product, that you are using this application. If you are using, what experience you need as a customer. That's why when you write user stories, you are writing as a user, I want to something. So always keep that in mind when you're writing user story, when you're building functionalities. If I were the user, if this makes sense to me, or do I like this experience. If you need like that experience, so you can propose to business users, and hey, I believe if we add this feature, if this little tweak to this feature, and this can be a great customer experience, right? So what do you think about it, right? So then if they say yes, then as a developer, if that possible, so always you have to work on that mindset, like a customer. Okay, so that way you can deliver a better product, and you also can save time, future enhancement. So that how you can save time. All right. Okay, how do you handle aggressive stakeholders? So we talk about this one. Okay, so no one is aggressive, multiple people, they want they are in pressure, so you just need to keep listening, right? So only thing, listening, acknowledge, and documenting, and showing what is right for them, instead of you suggest something. So when you document it and visual it, they will understand it. Okay, what make a successful BA? So all the technique we talk about, right? So how to handle stakeholder, developer, QA, and your important role is just document it and visualize it, and think like a customer, and show the better option, right? Okay, so we talk about ambiguity. So there's no ambiguity if you write and clearly, if you show them visualize, if you help them to visualize, there's no ambiguity, any requirement, right? So it's crystal clear. That's our main focus, to deliver crystal clear requirements. Okay. Okay, so what is, I will ignore this one. Okay. How do you handle a mistake you made, right? So this is a good question, right? Mistake anyone can make. BA can make a mistake, PO, developer, QA, anyone can make a mistake, right? So how do you make handle your mistake? So you have to review every time, right? So when someone is saying I don't understand, okay, let's go through this. I believe mistakes should be opportunities to improve. So for example, recommend or misunderstood, I would take ownership, understand gap happen, and correct documentation. So anything happen, okay, so let's say anything happen, don't hide it, just understand. Okay, so that's why I'm saying don't assume it everything. So my advice to you, don't assume it, write it down, and then visualize, put it on a diagram, because most of the time mistakes happening because you understand something differently and you didn't communicate with the stakeholder. So you thought this is like last time, right? That's the most assumption. So don't SU, write it down clearly, because even business stakeholder, they think something on their head, we assume something in our head, a developer thinks something else, and testers something else. So you take ownership, because you are the person bridging these all folks. You have to write clear requirement, right? So the only way, you write it clearly, right? So how do you write it clearly? We also make mistakes, so you have to write it and show to the stakeholder and put it on a diagram and talk to the team. Take time to groom it. Don't take user stories in urgent. Okay, you write the user story now, and evening you don't start building, right? So you need to groom it and and until the user story clear. I'm not meant to say take more time, but when you have time, just talk clearly and add enough notes and create diagrams always, and add comments on your user stories if there is a dependency or something is there, so that way you can avoid mistake. Mistakes are not acceptable, even 0.1 point. If you're working in a bank, one decimal will make a huge impact, because customer facing application, so there's no chance for mistakes. But make sure you review it with the stakeholder, get alignment before you start building. Okay. Okay, so these are where do you see yourself. Okay, let's go to the final one. So our mock interview. So now we practice. Let's go through some questions again quickly. Okay, so typical question, introduce yourself. So the second question, walk me through your credit risk reporting project. Third question, explain the architecture. What use a separate risk data, why we use a separate risk database. So this is your mock interview question. So how would you investigate incorrect risk numbers? How do you gather requirements? How do you write good user stories? How do you work in agile? How do you support QA? Okay, a critical defect is found during UAT, what do you do? Okay, tell me about difficult stakeholder situation. How do you handle completing priorities? Why should we hire you? Okay, that's the final question. Okay, so if you can answer to this question, so you have to prepare your own version, and based on your skill set and based on your project you completed. Okay, so that's a quick overview how we can prepare some mock interview questions using our project we completed, that credit risk project. Okay, I hope this helped. Let me know in the comments if you need more details, because I haven't given you clear right answer for each question, but because everyone's situation is different. Okay, so let me know in your comments what is your answer, and we can discuss more. Okay, thanks everyone.